What's up? I'm Hutch, and you need to better understand how to read an EKG strip so that you can understand your patient's arrhythmias and also pass the NPTE. So looking at an EKG strip, these are usually done in 6-second intervals, although you might not see the full thing on the NPTE exam. One small box is about 1 millimeter, and that's equal to 0.04 seconds. This means that one large square is 0.2 seconds, and 5 large squares is 1 full second. So the first thing that you want to do is find if the rhythm is regular. The distance between the R on one beat and the R on the next beat should be about the same, plus or minus one small box, or about 0.04 seconds. If it is regular, you'll then calculate the rate by dividing 300 by the number of large squares, either from P to P, which is the atrial rate, or R to R for the ventricular rate. In a normal heart rate, these are the same, but with arrhythmias, they may not be. For an irregular rhythm, you'll count the number of QRS complexes and multiply by 6 to get an approximate heart rate. Now make sure that you can identify all the aspects of a normal EKG: the P wave, the QRS complex, and the T wave. The PR interval should be about 0.12 to 0.20 seconds, or 2 to 3 small boxes. The QRS interval should be about 0.04 to 0.10 seconds, which is 1 to almost 3 small boxes. And the QT interval should be 0.2 to 0.4 seconds, which is about 1 to 2 large boxes. If your EKG strip fits all of these parameters and you can identify each section of the cardiac cycle, you're looking pretty good. However, you may see patients with arrhythmias, also known as dysrhythmias. As far as I can tell, those are pretty much interchangeable words, but correct me if I'm wrong. Supraventricular tachycardia is anything with a really fast atrial heart rate. So that can be a generic term covering a few different types of arrhythmia. Premature atrial contractions have an early weird P wave with an irregular rhythm. In this person, there's an added electrical component causing a contraction before the SA node gets a chance to. Atrial flutter will have an atrial heart rate over 250 with sawtooth P waves. The atria is beating so fast it really doesn't have time to fill before pumping blood out to the ventricles. In atrial fibrillation, there's an atrial heart rate over 350, usually no P waves and an irregular rhythm. These are chaotic and out of sync contractions. AV node conduction blocks, also known as heart blocks, are when the electrical system is impeded, and these are ranked in order of severity. The first degree heart block is just delayed conduction from the AV node, causing a PR interval over 0.2 seconds. Second degree, aka Mobitz 1 or Wenckebach, is a slow or missed signal. This is an irregular slow beat with progressively longer PR intervals until the QRS is skipped completely. Second degree Mobitz 2 is when the ventricles rarely get the signal to contract. This is also an irregular slow beat with a much faster atrial rate and very few QRS intervals. In third degree heart block, there is no signal to the ventricles, which beat at their own pace. There's a regular atrial heart rate, but very few QRS complexes. Ventricular arrhythmias are the only type that can be sensed by an AED, but are also usually an emergency. PVCs, or premature ventricular complexes, are an early ventricular contraction. This can happen every other beat in bigeminy or every third beat in trigeminy. The P is skipped and the QRS is wide and weird. Ventricular tachycardia is a ventricular heart rate over 150, usually without P waves, and there's a wide/weird QRS. If this happens for over 30 seconds, it is an emergency. The ventricles are beating way too fast to pump blood out into the body effectively. Ventricular fibrillation is an irregular and fast and ineffective ventricular contraction. There's basically no ventricular output, and the beats progress from coarse to fine and possibly even into ventricular asystole, which is a flat line. Now it's time for NPT Jeopardy! Pause the video now if you want time to read and think about the question. Otherwise, you've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the least severe of all the types of heart block, so all that you'll see is a prolonged PR interval. With more severe heart block, you'll get delayed or missing QRS complexes as well. Hopefully that covers all of our bases. If not, you can always check out the description box below for a link to my notes, or you can drop a comment with questions or suggestions for videos I should do in the future. Otherwise, good luck studying. Go change the world.